Mulder drags Scully on another road trip. This time, it's to Area 51. Before they reach their destination, a cocky man in black stops them at gunpoint.
When a suspicious craft flies overhead, a shockwave ripples through them all, and suddenly Mulder's consciousness is swapped with the man in black.
This is not happening.
Oh, wait.
That's hot. It's hot.
Thanks.
Welcome back, everybody, to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast with me, Andrew. And as always, joined by my good friend, Mike. Mike, hello.
Hello. Good to see you tonight.
How have you entered my dreams?
I've entered your... I didn't know I had.
You are in my dream right now. We are dreaming this interaction, you and I.
Is this a dreamland?
It is a dream within a dream.
Oh. Spooky.
You see what's happening there?
I see that. You're describing the thing with the thing.
I am describing the thing with the thing. And by illusion, I am describing the episode that we are going to be discussing tonight.
Oh.
The first episode of a two-parter. The first non-mythology two-parter. Dreamland.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. I'm excited for this one because I am a big Michael McKean fan. And we get a nice guest actor.
Yeah. Now, where would we have seen Michael McKean before now?
Well, for us rockers out there, Matt, I'm talking about you. Spinal Tap. He's in plenty of things. I think he was in some Law and Orders, or at least one that I can think of.
Yeah.
Short Circuit 2, which I referenced on the show a long time ago. He was in that. He is a wonderful actor. He plays a really smarmy guy a lot of times. He's just got one of those voices that I really like.
Yeah.
But
definitely a lot of smoking in this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh, Better Call Saul.
And Better Call Saul. That's a great point. Yeah. He was not
Good
their
pull.
first choice for the role of Morris Fletcher. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Did you know who? Well, you did not know.
I
that,
didn't.
So you probably don't know who they had in mind for the character
Who's that?
Michael McKean. They thought they would get Gary Shandling to be Morris Fletcher.
That's excellent.
That would have been a good choice.
I'm glad they were able to use him later.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, in fact, Michael McKean's a better choice. He's a little bit...
He strikes me as more of a man in black than Gary Shandling. Gary Shandling would have taken it to more slapstick territory, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think, the tone of this one is still slightly serious. So I think McKean services this episode a little bit better than Shandling would have if they wanted to keep that thread, that very thin thread of seriousness.
Yeah. Well, also worth noting, of course, that this is written by all the heavy hitters. Like, it's a trifecta of Vince Gilligan, John Chabon, and Frank Spotnitz. Chris Carter is nowhere to be found, probably because he's been so busy doing Triangle for the last, 6 months or whatever it took him to do that one. Directed by Kim Manners.
Excellent.
So,
excellent pairing of people here. And this is that trio that we talk about. So John Gilnitz is a name we will hear somewhere in these two episodes.
Yeah, that's right. So without further ado, should we go to bed? And
should we go to bed? Yes. We shall go to bed, Andrew. Let's do this.
Begin the dreaming process is what I was getting to. It was not a solid land, but I think I got it.
I don't judge.
Okay. Mike, we open on a long stretch of Highway 375 in Nevada. A car drives past, passing a warning sign that the road leads to a military installation and that you'd be foolish to enter. Inside the car, we see our heroes. Mulder saying to Scully that they only have 2 miles to go. Scully catches us up on the plot. Mulder has received a communication from a confidential source who works at Area 51. And Scully laments that running an errand like this is what is keeping them from a normal life, and instead they're driving thousands of miles in crappy rental cars. Mulder protests that, this is a normal life. Just as Scully sees a car in the distance, its headlights shining at them as it approaches at a rapid pace. Other cars are approaching from all directions as the cars, identical white SUVs, descend upon them. Mulder laments that they're likely not going to meet their source after all. They're forced to stop and exit their car by soldiers wielding assault rifles. As they stand by their car with their hands up, a suited man exits one of the white SUVs, finishing a cigarette and stepping on it as he approaches and asks them for identification. He laments upon seeing their badges that they are FBI, and he tells them to leave immediately. The three bandy about for a moment as Scully posits that they might be testing flying saucers. The man in black, Morris Fletcher, tells them that there's no such thing as flying saucers. And, as if to spite him, a flying saucer takes this opportunity to fly overhead. As everyone looks up in amazement, an invisible tremor emits from the saucer, more of a flying triangle, really, and sweeps over the collection of people. Mulder is hit subtly by the wave of energy. When the craft flies over the horizon... I'll say that again. When the craft flies over the horizon, we see that Fletcher and Mulder have switched places, if not bodies. Fletcher, wearing Mulder's clothes, stands beside Scully, while Mulder, wearing Fletcher's clothes, stands in front of his car. Scully, apparently having forgotten all about the UFO, tells Mulder that they need to go, and the two of them get into their car as Mulder looks on incredulously. Cut to credits. Wow.
It's good stuff.
Completely
ramps up the tension.
But that's a lot of fun.
Whoa. Cut. What are you saying? Right, so you don't like this episode already?
I will be honest, I really like Dreamland I.
Okay.
As if to foreshadow.
So tune in 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think part 2 is going to go very well, but we'll see.
No, I got nothing bad to say about it. It's one of those cases of, it's a hell of a script that you've made here, people. How are we going to get out of this one? And it's the getting out that I will have problems with, as you might imagine. But for now, it's got me. Does it have you?
It does. On multiple levels. I love the man in black who is actually running interference. I like that even though it is a little played, the idea of swapping consciousness with someone, it was fun to be surprised with that when I had first seen this. I was like, okay, where is this going to go? And I'm a big fan, like I said, of Michael McKean, so I was happy to see him and intrigued as to where this was going to go.
Well, after the commercial, the car does a 3-point and drives away as Mulder reclaims his senses and rushes towards the departing car, shouting at it. A soldier rushes over and asks if he should open fire, but Mulder, still confused, tells him no. Still confused when asked by the soldier what their orders are, all Mulder can think of is that he wants to get out of here. He gets back into his SUV to join 2 other men in suits, Jeff and Howard. Howard asks Mulder what he thinks he's doing. Why did he let the agents go? Mulder protests they didn't know anything, and Jeff sticks up for Mulder by figuring that Mulder knows you can't just disappear 2 FBI agents. They'll get their own people to deal with them. With that, the SUVs head back to Area 51, a glowing base in the middle of the Nevada hills surrounded by barbed wire fences. Inside, the 3 men in black, Mulder included, are confronted by a security guard, asking them for their identification. Howard and Jeff present theirs, and Mulder, after searching his pockets, finds his, a badge with Fletcher's name and picture on it and a code word on top, Majestic. This satisfies the guard while Mulder looks at his face in a security camera. It's Morris Fletcher's, not Mulder's. The trio walk through the gray halls of the installation, passing an office where a military officer, General Wegman, talks on a phone. Howard wants to know what Wegman's doing here and leaves, while Jeff and Mulder head to their respective offices. So, really neat setup so far. And we've got this shtick where we're going to tell the story from the inside. We're going to peel back the curtain on what happens at Area 51. If it was with Mulder conventionally, it would be him sneaking into the installation and trying not to get caught. But here we actually get the normal life of the Men in Black in Area 51. And I think it's a really unique idea.
Yes. That is one of my favorite aspects of this 2-parter is the mundaneness of the place everyone wants to know what's going on, right? Yeah. Area 51 is bigger than the X-Files. It is the big alien UFO technology where supposedly it's being held, whatever. So they do a great job of making those people just normal guys, just living a life. And I think that comes to a head in episode 2. I won't get into it here, but I think it's pretty expertly done.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well, moving on, Mulder heads into his office, which looks as ordinary as any other civil servant's. And this echoes Brand's comment in the chat, Freaky Friday on government salaries.
Yes.
Spot on. In the office, we have pictures on the wall, including photos with Fletcher sitting by various presidents and Saddam Hussein. I love it. Mulder decides to call Scully, and our camera switches to Scully and Fletcher, who have stopped at a gas station. Scully's concerned about Mulder. He hasn't said a word since they left their interaction with the military. As Scully starts pumping gas, her phone starts ringing. In the car, Mulder is listening to some music, and as soon as she decides to pick up, Mulder has to hang up because Jeff enters his office. Meanwhile, Fletcher asks Scully to pick him up some Morley cigarettes, which shocks Scully, since when does he smoke? He goes on to lament that he's not going to be a Nazi about it, are you?
Oh, good stuff. And it starts immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Michael McKean is laying it on thick.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back in Mulder's office, or Fletcher as Mulder's office, I'm going to stick to the convention of just who we're seeing, and it's Mulder in this case. Jeff comes in. He's on the warpath. He's checked the phone logs, and someone called the FBI this morning. They definitely have a security leak. The call came from the guest phone in Wegman's office. They're rubbing their faces in it. Meanwhile, Mulder's phone is ringing, and after a moment and some prodding by Jeff, Mulder figures he should answer.
Morris, good. You gonna answer that? Hello?
What are you doing there?
I'm just trying to work that out.
It's midnight. I've been waiting up.
I didn't know.
What do you mean you didn't know? You said you'd call. Morris.
Oh, I forgot.
You always forget. Well, this time don't forget the milk.
The wife. Come on, man. Let's go home.
Oh no, Mulder's married.
Oh boy. We get to see Mulder in the married life. Yeah, Matt said it's pretty dated with that whipped whoosh.
But even when it aired, I'm sure we would have been going, oh, he's one of those guys.
Yeah. Oh man, you did what your wife asked. Whoosh.
But he doesn't, though. He doesn't go home, and he certainly doesn't pick up some milk. I mean, boy, that would have saved him a lot of effort. But yeah. Well, Jeff gives Mulder a drive home. He warily enters his suburban home, wandering around until he ends up at a phone. He picks it up to call Scully, but it's answered by the base operator. And Mulder decides not to try calling Scully from this line. He sneaks into his bedroom to see a woman sleeping in bed, but he doesn't go in. Instead, he settles in by the TV, switching channels until he finds some light pornography. He leans back in the lazy boy, getting comfortable. And
switches yet again into David Duchovny.
Yeah, exactly.
Third persona.
I mean, I think it's commendable that he just cannot try and invade this guy's life. You know, he's certainly not going to sleep with somebody else's wife. Like that is not a heroic thing to do, even though it's kind of what she wants.
Right.
But this choice of just, I'll do what I normally do is...
Well, it's got to be a very unnerving situation if you pretend that this could actually happen and you're in this situation.
Yeah.
I'd be looking for some normalcy myself, if only to go to bed. I wouldn't just hop into bed with some woman.
I'll be right here. Mm-hmm. Well, we cut to the desert at 2:04 a.m., a white SUV charging over a dune. Fire crews in silver suits, soldiers, and all manner of staff are dealing with what appears to be a plane crash. Fire and smoke fill the area. We settle on a military officer, General Wegman, surveying the scene. He's greeted by Howard, who tells them that it was a routine test flight, but they lost contact with the aircraft just after 11. They don't know why the craft went down, but they've got the flight recorder, and they have recovered the crew who they go to visit. The co-pilot is impossibly embedded in a nearby rock, his face and arm barely emerging from the stone. The other pilot is nearby under a shelter. When Wegman asks him what happened, the pilot responds in a mysterious language, looking stunned. Almost as stunned as Wegman and Howard. Mike, what did you think of that man embedded in rock?
I like it. It's just out there enough, and it implies what we've already come to know about the episode. Yeah. Things have been merged. So this was a visual way to make it more than just what is happening to our hero. You know, this is more than just the Morris and Mulder show. It's this is happening around them, and it affected more than just those two men. So I like it. It's a nice visual, and it's just gooey enough to be appreciated.
Oh yeah, it's horrifying is what it is, but these guys are made of stone themselves. They are not really affected by this. Well, after the commercial, Scully is waiting in AD Kirsch's office. Mulder is late. Fletcher walks past. Of course, he's in Mulder's body. Until Scully calls out to him and he comes in. He was a little lost. Another item to mystify Scully, but Mulder's just having one of those days. They go in to see Kirsch. Kirsch is customarily annoyed to see them.
My two frequent flyers. I'm to understand you were in Nevada yesterday, and after what's it been, 2-3 conversations such as this on the matter.
Sir.
This morning I got a phone call from the Pentagon demanding that the two of you be reprimanded for trespassing on a top-secret military installation. What do you think you were doing there?
We were following a lead, sir.
And that's part of your current caseload? A legitimate investigation?
Agent Scully and I were contacted by a confidential source.
What source?
Oh, if I had the name, I'd give it to you. Some whistleblower working inside the so-called Area 51 said he had some big deal information. I gotta tell you, the whole thing turned out to be just one gigantic mistake on our part.
Agent Mulder, you are specifically ordered not to pursue any line of investigation pertaining to the X-Files.
Sir, you're absolutely right. And on behalf of Agent Scully and myself, I'd like to apologize for our blatant disregard of your direct order. You have our word. We will never, ever do that again.
The look on Kirsch's face when he is saying that, right? Like,
what?
I believe these guys.
I would never imagine to hear these words out of Mulder's mouth.
Yeah, well,
but
neither would Scully, of course, who is looking at him like.
Yeah, as soon as if I had the name, I'd tell you. Scully's eyes. What?
Yeah. All right, I'm going to raise a topic of conversation, both between you and I and in the chat, if people are interested in commenting. And it's a thought experiment. And that would be, instead of the gambit they're doing right now with having Michael McKean playing Mulder and Mulder playing
I know what you're
David
doing.
Duchovny playing Morris Fletcher. What if you just kept them in their
Bodies.
actual roles, like Mulder is running around with Scully and, Michael McKean is running around at home doing all his Mulder stuff, but have them act the other characters? I actually think it might be more effective.
I'm not against that idea. I think that's a great idea. I think we've all, I have as well thought of this idea to kind of throw around in my brain. There are moments in the episodes where I think they get it wrong. They do these quick cuts of Fletcher looking in a mirror and it's Mulder's face, or vice versa, or whatever.
Yeah.
Some of it feels a little clunky. So I think that may have serviced the episode a little bit better to have them just be themselves other than, or playing different consciousness. So that could have been cool. It could have been more effective to see Mulder acting a certain way with Kirsch and having the visual of David Duchovny be there. I think that would have been pretty effective. But, I think it would have been one of those things where Michael McKean and David Duchovny would have had to get together and get each other's mannerisms down to help play it up. I think that would have been really cool.
Well, it's not the first time they've done this. They did it in Small Potatoes.
Right.
So, they've proven they could do it. Maybe they didn't want to go back to that well, and this is legitimately different, and it fits the conceit of the episode. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I like it, what they've chosen to do. I just feel like what it does do is it implicitly makes us not believe that Scully isn't getting it. We're seeing Morris Fletcher as Mulder doing these increasingly zany things. And you're sitting there going, Scully, when are you going to get that he is not Mulder? Because this is clearly crazy shit that he's doing. And there's no justification for it. So, I don't know.
Enough.
That's my problem with it, and I feel like if it was in fact Mulder as Mulder, David Duchovny playing Morris Fletcher as Mulder, like a three-way, it would have been more believable from Scully's point of view. Like, I just don't get that you're somebody, physically somebody else is in you. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think she approaches it in a way that is pretty Scully. I think she comes to it faster than I would think she would. If that says anything. I don't know.
You mean
like you think she doesn't come to it quick enough. I think she comes in and realizes it's not Mulder at the appropriate time for Scully. That's just the way her character strikes me, is like, why would she suddenly believe her partner has had his consciousness invaded by another man when she doesn't believe in this stuff? I think she comes at it, or comes around to the idea at the right moment.
Well, all I need is just a little bit more logical explanation from Mulder as to what's going on. Some kind of thing where he says, look, you said it in the car, I've missed out on having a normal life because of this dogged pursuit. It looks like we've been stonewalled. So I'm thinking maybe we go another way, and that could be enough. But we never get that. We just get him continuing to be a flake, and it just doesn't really... these items just keep on adding to the list that Scully has to sit there and just accept for what I view to be no great reason. But
it's that time, everyone. The Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Magus Media Productions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/Magus Media, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.
so the interaction with A.D. Kirsch, fake Mulder's response seems to both mollify and confuse A.D. Kirsch, and the agents leave. Scully tries to make sense of it. Mulder's doing a complete 180 on his life's work. He takes a moment, goes in, and propositions Kirsch's secretary. Yet another item to mystify Scully, and when she calls Fletcher out on it, all he can say is, why is she trying to pick a fight with him? And on his way out, slaps her on the ass. Yeah,
wow.
Totally Mulder thing, right? In
That's
addition to
normal.
calling her Dana. So we cut over to the Fletcher residence. Mulder asleep on the lazy boy. Soft porn playing on the TV. Mrs. Fletcher comes in, waking him. He murmurs Scully's name. Mrs. Fletcher has a number of grievances to air. He didn't come to bed last night. Who is this Scully, and why on earth was he watching porn? What if their kids were to come in and see this? Mulder goes in search of his car keys. He cannot be here for this. We have a great moment where Mulder sends Fletcher's kids into therapy, their dad calling them by the wrong names. This is not a happy family as Mulder tries to leave before he can escape. Daughter Chris demands an answer about her nose. And as the family looks on, Mulder in the firing line, he completely answers poorly that Chris is a little young for a nose job, don't you think? Which sends her into hysterics. She wanted a nose ring, not a nose job. Mulder tries to leave, but Mrs. Fletcher, Joanne, catches up with him. She thinks he must want a divorce with all this behavior. He apologizes he's not himself lately, and again, before he can go, she tells him he's wearing the same suit as yesterday, so he goes up to change. We see Morris Fletcher's wardrobe containing a collection of identical black suits, and Mulder begins to change into one, seeing a reflection in the mirror that's impossibly not his own, but Morris Fletcher's. He goes over to look at this impossibility, and if there was any doubt that this episode was not taking itself seriously, this is the moment where that doubt is shed, as Mulder dances in front of the mirror as if to trick the reflection that it's not his. It's pretty well done.
Excellent.
A fake mirror standing in, and Michael McKean dancing in symmetry to Mulder. Almost to think that they built the whole episode around this moment. It's not perfect. How could it be? But it's pretty good. And of course, Mrs. Fletcher comes in just as he's in the middle of his dance moves. She hands him the phone. It's Jeff telling him Morris has to get his ass down there. Mike, what do you think of that scene?
I love it. They allow the actors to play off each other and, again, spread their wings and have some fun. As we know from plenty of episodes, especially Small Potatoes, which was brought up earlier, Duchovny is a very comedic actor, very physical actor, and when it comes to physical comedy, he does a great job. I think in the back of our minds, we knew that the I Love Lucy moment was coming.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as that mirrored fucking closet shows up, we knew where it was going to go. Classic pull from I Love Lucy, but they did a pretty good job. It wasn't, like you said, perfect, but very fun.
Yeah. I almost don't want it to be perfect because it's like, if it was, well, first of all, the amount of rehearsal they probably had to do just to get to that point, it's a lot. It's charming is what it is. Well, back at the base, Howard and General Wegman are reviewing the status of the pilot speaking the unknown language. This is Captain McDonough. Turns out it's not unknown. It's a Native American dialect, Hopi, and the captain thinks he's Mrs. Lana Chi of the Moapa Reservation, about 35 miles away. It all sounds a bit incredible until Howard takes Wegman to another cell, where an elderly Native American woman leaps to attention and salutes the general. It's Mrs. Lana Chi, and Wegman returns the salute. Mrs. Chi goes on to identify herself as Captain McDonough and gives a full status update. When asked why the craft went down, she reports there were no warning lights. She just wasn't in the mood to fly, sir. Which gives Wegman the beginnings of a headache. And I gotta say,
I love this scene.
I love that scene.
So good. Yeah. Her studiousness, her form, the way she talks, she does a great job at being a military officer, a flight officer, and it's just so unexpected. It's pretty jarring. Yeah. But excellent performance.
Matt raised an interesting point in the chat. Would she have an accent? And I think she would if we're following the same conceit of Mulder and Fletcher switching bodies, because we're hearing their voices. We're not hearing Fletcher's voice come out of Mulder's mouth,
right?
If that makes sense. So
I think in the conceit that their consciousnesses have been swapped, as if that could ever happen. I guess we just have to believe that their brains then function how they know to function as the individual people. So Mulder speaking through McKeon would be Mulder's, not voice, but he would speak the way Mulder does, and the same thing with the pilot and the Native American.
It's so that they can seamlessly blend into their surroundings, for the comfort of the plot. But they don't have access to the information that the other person knows, which is the other useful conceit, because it makes for the comedy that Mulder doesn't know anything about this family that he's just invaded. So meanwhile, back at the FBI, Fletcher is playing computer golf on Mulder's computer as Scully looks on. A phone call comes in on Scully's line. Mulder's calling from a payphone out in the desert. He tries to tell her what's happening, that something happened when the UFO flew over, but she doesn't remember the UFO and is obviously skeptical when he reveals that he, Mulder, is inhabiting the body of an Area 51 employee named Morris Fletcher, and that the man Scully is with is actually that man in Mulder's body. Scully gets Fletcher to pick up the phone and listen in. Mulder wants her to come back to Area 51, and he'll get in touch with her. Scully asks if that was Mulder's source, but he says no. She wants to run a trace, but Fletcher suggests they report it to Kirsch, which further mystifies Scully.
Are you serious?
Fletcher tells her she's got to, quote, get her panties on straight, unquote. They're federal officers, and they go by the book. Who is this man, she's thinking?
Her eyes in that picture, when she leans back and just absorbs what he's saying.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Excuse me. What did you just say to me?
Oh, my God. Back in Nevada, Mulder buys some sunflower seeds at the gas station he made his phone call from. He gets 11 cents in change, which he generously leaves as a tip. He starts to drive back to the base, his car moving out of the shot when an ominous mist and wind floats over the road. Back in the gas station, there is what appears to be an earthquake, completely devastating the station. We cut to Mulder driving as 3 white SUVs come his way. 2 pass him while the third one stops. It's Jeff and Howard, who tell him to turn around. They've got trouble. We return to the scene at the gas station where it looks like a tornado has set down. The soldier tells him to keep back. Gas is leaked. But Mulder charges inside to the devastated store, looking for the attendant. Howard and Jeff join him, telling him they have to get out of there. Whatever happened could come back, despite Mulder's objection that this man needed medical attention. A soldier shoots the man, solving the problem, and everybody leaves. Howard tells the soldiers to burn the gas station, and all it takes is a flare on the exposed gas, and the station goes up in an exciting fireball. Woo!
That's rough, man. What a bad day.
Yeah, and interesting to note, for obvious reasons, they had to create that gas station from scratch, purely for this episode. It did not exist previously.
No. I can't imagine. Good stuff, though. Excellent explosion. Very X-Filesy. We get some explosions finally.
Well, that's what we needed up till now. We've had a lot of thinky. So Fox probably came down and said, we need a little action, guys. We had a nice gun
some
business.
fire.
Well, we need a fireball. So back in Washington, Scully is visiting Mulder at his apartment. When she arrives, someone is giggling and leaving. It's Kirsch's secretary, who apparently has swung by Mulder's for a lunchtime quickie. Scully is flummoxed. Finding Mulder, who is smoking and calling her Dana, she reports that they got the trace in the phone call from Nevada. It might be Mulder's source, and she's thinking they should go to Nevada.
We got the trace back on the call we received this morning. It came from a gas station payphone off of Highway 375, 3 miles east of Groom Lake.
And?
And I'm thinking it was your source, although I don't know why he'd try and impersonate you.
Maybe so.
You don't think that we should follow up on this?
Are you out of your pretty little mind?
Am I out of my mind? Mulder, you are out of your mind. What is up with you? I'm thinking about having you examined for mental illness or drug use or maybe a massive head injury. This is an X-file. Your life's work. Your crusade.
As I understand it, we're off the X-Files.
Whoa. So, if she did have him examined for head trauma or mental illness, that would have taken the plot in a really interesting direction.
It would have made it so she can't believe that he has been invaded. Because he's healthy.
I'm fine. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, Scully is stunned and can only walk away. So I'm loving where Fletcher is going with this. You know, he's like getting an opportunity to live his glory days.
I wanted to say Bran in chat had a lengthy comment there that is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've read it or not.
Well, I've been trying to recap the episode, so I've avoided.
I've
avoided doing that.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I just thought it was interesting
for us. It is looking pretty cool.
Okay, so the ship of Theseus is a Greek story about personal identity and how, after setting sail with all the necessary materials and changing all the parts of the ship while in travel, they reach home after the voyage in a completely different ship under their feet. Might look the same, yet it is composed of different parts. A new identity only known by those who rode the ship, as the ship looks pretty much the same upon reaching port. I think throughout the episode, if viewers only see Mulder being played by Duchovny, as opposed to those scenes with McKean filling those clothes, we might be as lost as Scully in picking up what is occurring. Let alone how odd the home life of Fletcher would be if we knew not of Mulder possessing that body. For the viewer, it becomes necessary in my opinion.
Well,
good
that
comment.
Is a really good comment. And you're right. I think it is in this method that they've chosen easier for the viewer to get what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you came in halfway through the episode, in which case you'd be completely lost. But it'd be more challenging either way, and not everyone would get it. I think they chose the safe path because they know who their viewers are.
Yeah, and using Duchovny as Fletcher and McKean as Duchovny, I think that's it tells you what's happening. You don't have to necessarily see it, or you don't have to put it together, I should say.
Yeah. Well, moving on. We're back at the base. Howard is showing the folks something else that's crazy. It's an iguana that's merged with a stone, and it's still alive. He goes on to show them a glass map board with notated markers, areas where this crazy shit has happened, identifying one such area as Ground Zero. Howard calls the anomaly a tear in the space-time continuum. Oh, Star Trek, how we love you. He blames it on a malfunction in the UFOs they're flying from Area 51. Wegman tells them and us that they've been flying these things since 1953, and there's never been a malfunction like this. Howard argues that the craft's propulsion system could do something like this. Jeff argues that if the ground zero point was where it all began, they would have seen it. All three of them were intercepting the FBI agents right there. And Howard argues that they didn't see it because of lost time, that they suffered consequences they don't know about. Well, Mulder, taking the sensible path, says, well, what can we do about it? How can we reverse it? But Howard just responds, who says we can? Ominous. They might be stuck like this forever, Mike. Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to resolve this in one episode.
I think you're absolutely right. Well, we cut to Scully driving to Nevada at night. She pulls up to the burned gas station, and they'd been there before to fill up. She surveys the scene with an actual flashlight, one that actually produces a substantial amount of light. She finds a curious thing. A dime and a penny impossibly merged together, which sends us to commercial. I kind of want one of those penny-dime combinations now.
They could have made, ironically, a lot of money with that prop if they just duplicated it.
Absolutely. Cost of making it, 11 cents.
It would probably be $20.
It would probably cost to make it 11 cents, but sale price is $20.
$19.99.
When we come back from commercial, Mulder is again asleep on the lazy boy, choosing not to sleep with Mrs. Fletcher. And again, Mrs. Fletcher wakes him rudely, giving him a blast of domestic life. She accuses him of not loving her anymore, that they're in a farce of a marriage. And who is this Scully whose name he keeps murmuring in his sleep? Well, Mulder tries to hide behind the secrecy of his job, but she is not buying it. And we have a great moment where it looks like they're going to connect. Mulder exposing a vulnerability that he doesn't know who he is anymore, that he's not the man she married. Ooh, double entendre. Very good. She almost gets it, but then assumes he's just got erectile dysfunction and they've got a pill for that now. They can work this out. There are other ways to be intimate.
Oh, boy.
Mark Snow's hopeful flute music serenades us through this hopeful moment as Mrs. Fletcher goes to answer the doorbell. It's Scully. And as soon as Scully introduces herself, it all comes crashing down. As Mulder arrives at the door, Mrs. Fletcher slaps him and calls him a son of a bitch and continues to scream at him during the rest of the scene. Outside, Mulder takes Scully aside and tries to explain the whole body-switching plot nugget, dropping plenty of details about Scully that should suggest he's right, but she is not buying any of it. Mulder tries to convince her he can prove it all right tonight as she drives away. Meanwhile, in the distance, we see Fletcher in another car watching it all go down. Ooh.
But whose face is in the mirror?
Yeah. Nice
Mulder.
touch. They must have had to do a little quick switch in the car. See one person's face in the mirror, and then when the camera pivots, Duchovny's already ducked in the back seat or something, and McKean's dipped over to the driver's seat.
Something.
Simple and effective.
Yep.
So we're back at Area 51, where Howard's phone is ringing, and when he picks it up, it's Fletcher, impersonating Mulder. Fletcher tells Howard that he has a security leak. Somebody he's worked with closely, the man has offered Mulder classified information. Howard asks if he has this man's name, and the scene ends with Fletcher confirming that he does. Double cross. In another area of Area 51, Mulder is looking for the flight data recorder, which he finds and tucks into a paper bag, taking it with him. With Howard seeing it all go down, Scully, driving, gets a call from A.D. Kirsch.
Scully.
You're in Nevada again.
Sir,
Do not speak, Agent. Listen. Your partner already apprised me of his conversation with the Air Force and his fervent desire to save you from making a fatal career mistake. Therefore, you will follow my instructions to the letter.
Sir, I don't know what Agent Mulder might have told you,
You
but
will follow my instructions to the letter. Otherwise, don't bother coming back from Nevada.
Damn.
Poor Scully.
Pickens Jr., man. What an amazing delivery. So mean.
He doesn't even let her talk. He's done with these two.
She really needs call display.
I suppose.
I'm just going to let that go to voicemail.
Oh, no. I can't answer this right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, our last scene, Mulder pulls into another service station carrying his paper bag and going inside. He looks around and sees Scully by the drinks containers. He goes over to join her, but the look on her face and the clerk dropping behind the counter tells him everything he needs to know. She has set him up. The military descends upon the service stations, soldiers coming in to put him in handcuffs. Howard, Jeff, and Morris Fletcher come in for the denouement. Mulder screaming at Fletcher that he organized this whole thing. Mulder protesting his innocence, that he's not me, and as we fade to black, Scully has a look on her face. Could Mulder's story be true? And we have our to-be-continued splash, the first one we get in a non-mythology episode.
Good stuff.
Mike, lay on me your final thoughts.
Well, first, I just want to comment on that floodlight that they pop on out of nowhere. That's good stuff. I really like that. Excellent double cross by Scully.
It's a callback to the alien stuff at the beginning, right? The UFO is flying over with a bright light, but not a UFO.
I think this is a really good setup. It's a great first part to the two-parter. Despite knowing the ending, I think this one is very well done, and it's extremely fun to see Michael McKean doing what he does and acting as this cocky man in black, living the single life because he's just been afforded this opportunity to get away from his wife and family and the mundaneness of his life. He's soaking this up, and you can see he's really enjoying it. Whereas Mulder is struggling big time with the confines of married life. So it's a really good dynamic.
You can see why Morris Fletcher is enjoying the single life so much. He doesn't have to deal with all that stuff anymore.
Yeah, so it's a good thing, good little dichotomy they got going on there, and a really nice setup. And I'm excited to see where it goes, Andrew. Mm-hmm. Excited to see where it goes.
Well, for me, as an episode, it's excellent. It's a great concept. I mean, what goes on at Area 51 and how can Mulder get inside to see it? It's a really great setup and a wonderful puzzle with a fantastic cliffhanger that we can only imagine will have an incredible resolution.
All right.
The trio writing this episode have clearly had an amount of fun putting it together. And it takes advantage of their presence in California. They would have had a very hard time filming this in BC. If I have criticism, and I've already sort of raised it, it is that Scully is being beaten about the head and neck with evidence that Mulder is not himself. She's known him for 6 years now. There is a driving force within him that is the X-Files. This is not the normal Mulder behavior. And what has it got to take for her to figure out the plot? And this is where I would raise again the specter of, would it make more sense for us if it was the characters playing the characters? But I think that I like where we've landed on that they made the right choice for Mulder playing Morris Fletcher and Fletcher playing Mulder. It's a long stretch for Scully to believe in the body swap plot line. Go to great lengths to have us believe that. Otherwise, there was a lot to like in this episode, and I liked it a lot. Unfortunately, it is all completely undone in Dreamland II, and I look forward to having a lot of negative things to say about that episode.
Why you gotta spoil it? Come on.
Shall we go to some listener comments?
Let's go to some listener comments. Man.
We'll start with Emily Messenger, who says, Dreamland, my favorite two-parter. Michael McKean is brilliant. Vince Gilligan is a genius. The scenes with Mulder and Joanne are some of my favorites. I could go on and on. I would even be happy to just watch the scene from the teaser with Mulder and Scully in the car together on repeat for the rest of my life. And little heart emojis.
Do we have other? I don't think we do.
I think that's basically
no other Dreamland comments. That's okay though.
Well, it shows you what people think. They are afraid of what's going to happen in Dreamland too, so they didn't really want to speculate.
I don't think that's a concern at all, but we'll see. No, great stuff. I do like the setup that's with what they're discovering of Area 51. Mulder's getting the chance of a lifetime, and in part 2 that doesn't quite pan out, which is what I really enjoy. But good stuff. I appreciate the comments, and I look forward, despite what Andrew has to say so far, to part 2 to see what happens. And yes, Bran in chat, Vince Gilligan was an occasional director in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. He was also the creator of Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And he got his start here in the X-Files. We actually talked last time about Drive, and that's where he met Bryan Cranston.
A legacy born.
They are all related somehow.
Yeah, exactly. I just remember I watched something recently, which was written by Frank Spotnitz, a little British series called Hunted, which I'd recommend. It's not bad. It is a little bit actiony for British stuff, which is a bit unconventional, but it had some good moments in it.
That's awesome. I've always wondered what he's been up to. I see some posts occasionally. It's been a while, but yeah, I know he's still active. So hopefully he's doing well. I'll give that show. You said Haunted?
Hunted.
Huh. Nice.
Our main character's last name is Hunter, so that's the little.
I get it now. Yeah, I get it. Well, I think that's the episode, Andrew.
That's it. I mean, it's a little shorter than normal, but that's usually what happens when it's a good one, So, Mike, I will give you the final word.
Well, I would just say thank you to our lovely listeners for showing up and for listening later on the podcast or wherever. It's been a fun time, and Andrew, I think let's go to Dreamy Dreamtown. Until next time. We will wake up and finish this lovely 2-parter. And everyone will be happy and appreciate it for what it is and enjoy the episode. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.